Welcome, everybody. My name is Farida Allaghi. I'm from Libya. I'm the president of the Libyan Forum for Civil Society. Thank you all for coming, and we hope that in this next hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, we hope that together we are going to enjoy some lively discussion with great, fantastic four Libyan women. Allow me to give the floor now to our Ambassador Ibrahim Dabbashi. And on behalf of my Libyan colleague and on behalf of many Libyan women, I have to confess that we must express our gratitudes to Ambassador Dabbashi, because when we as civil society activists took the initiative and decided to come to this session, I spoke with Mr. Dabbashi, informing him that we are coming, and he welcomed our participation, and he offered that he would like to co-sponsor this session and to host us at the Libyan House. So I think this is a beginning of really a future partnership with our mission here in New York, because it's very, very important for us to really continue this partnership. Thank you very much, Mr. Dabbashi. Also, I have to thank the ambassador of Italy, and who also is co-sponsoring this panel. We have today with us Mr. Inigo Lambertini. He's the Deputy Permanent Representative of the Mission of Italy. I'm going to be tough on time, because we really want to, as much as we can, cover so many unknown, probably, agendas for you about women and Libya, particularly in this difficult transitional democratic phase that we are going through. So we will start first by a welcome remark by His Excellency Ambassador Dabbashi and His Excellency Mr. Lambertini. And we are waiting also for a representative from the UN Women that hopefully she's on her way. Please, Mr. Dabbashi. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شكرا دكتورة فريدة. يسعدني أن أرحب بكم جميعا في هذه الندوة حول المرأة الليبية، ويشرفني أن تكون بعثة ليبيا لدى الأمم المتحدة بالاشتراك مع بعثة إيطاليا الصديقة لدى الأمم المتحدة راعيتان لهذا الحدث كمساهمة منهما في جهود النهوض بالمرأة والدفاع عن حقوقها. وكما هو واضح من ورقة المفاهيم التي أرجو أن تكون قد وزعت على الجميع، فإن الندوة ستركز على الوضع الحالي للمرأة في ليبيا، وفي هذه المرحلة الانتقالية بالذات التي تتحول فيها ليبيا من النظام إلى النظام الديمقراطي الذي يطمح الشعب الليبي إلى إقامته بعد تضحيات كبيرة قدمها خلال الثورة للتخلص من النظام الدكتاتوري. ويسعدني أن أرحب بالسيدة ممثلة جهاز الأمم المتحدة للمرأة، وأواصل فأقول: كانت المرأة الليبية عنصرا فعالا في الثورة الليبية، وقدمت تضحيات كبيرة للتخلص من النظام الدكتاتوري، فكانت تخاطر بنقل السلاح للثوار، وكانت مع الرجال في المستشفيات، وكانت تقدم الغذاء للمقاتلين. ولكن أيضا للأسف كانت الضحية الأكبر لكتائب القذافي التي استهدفتها بالعنف الجنسي والاغتصاب لكسر عزيمة الثوار وقمع الثورة. اليوم ستستمعون إلى مجموعة مميزة من السيدات الليبيات، وعلى رأسهم الدكتورة فريدة العلاقي، وهي رئيس المنتدى الليبي للمجتمع المدني، وشخصية معروفة بنشاطها في مجال التنمية البشرية والدفاع عن حقوق المرأة والشباب في الدول العربية، وكانت من أشد المعارضين لنظام معمر القذافي، ولها صلة بنشاطات الأمم المتحدة منذ نهاية سبعينيات القرن الماضي. والسيدات المحاضرات الثلاث هن عزة المغور، وهي محامية معروفة ولها نشاط كبير في مجال الحقوق الأساسية والحريات الأساسية وحقوق الإنسان، وناشطة على مستوى الفردي وعلى مستوى المجتمع المدني، وكانت دائما ناشطة في المسائل الدستورية سواء قبل الثورة وبعد الثورة. والسيدة ميسون التغار أيضا من ناشطات المجتمع المدني، ولها نشاط كبير أيضا، وهي شخصية مالية وناشطة في مجالات مختلفة. والسيدة مديحة النعاس أيضا باحثة ومن الشخصيات المرموقة في المجتمع المدني في ليبيا، ولها نشاطات مختلفة. فما سنستمع إليه اليوم أكيد سيعكس تجارب هؤلاء السيدات، وما يعتقدن أنه تحديات، وفي الواقع هي تحديات حقيقية للمرأة الليبية في هذه المرحلة. ولكن جميع هؤلاء السيدات لديهن مساهمات معتبرة في الحراك السياسي في هذه المرحلة الانتقالية في ليبيا، ولا شك أن ما سنستمع إليه منهن سواء في إحاطاتهن أو خلال النقاش التالي لتلك الإحاطات سوف يقدم لنا معلومات مفيدة حول دور المرأة خلال ثورة 17 فبراير وأيضا بعد الثورة، وأيضا ما يمكن أن يقدمه المجتمع الدولي لدعم جهود المرأة الليبية وتمكينها من التمتع بحقوقها كاملة. أستطيع أن أقول أن هناك أرضية جيدة للعمل مع المرأة في ليبيا ودعمها، وخاصة إذا أخذنا في الاعتبار انخفاض نسبة الأمية بين النساء الليبيات ومشاركتهن الواسعة في منظمات المجتمع المدني، بالإضافة إلى تعزز وضع المرأة داخل المجتمع بسبب مشاركتها الفاعلة في الثورة ضد الدكتاتورية وما قدمته من تضحيات خلالها. وعندما أقول ذلك لا أعني أن المهمة سهلة، فالأمر يتعلق بتغيير كثير من الأفكار التي ترسخ بعضها بمرور الزمن من خلال الممارسات الخاطئة، وارتبطت للأسف في عقول البعض بالقيم الدينية دون أن تكون منها. فالأمر يحتاج في بعض الحالات إلى تغيير العقلية السائدة، وهو أمر قد يحتاج إلى وقت طويل تتضافر فيه جميع جهود فعاليات المجتمع لتحقيق ذلك. ولا شك أنه ليس من السهل تغيير الأفكار بين يوم وليلة في مجتمع محافظ تختلط فيه العادات بالقيم، وتتعدد فيه التفسيرات للنصوص الدينية، وتتضارب في بعض الأحيان، وتصطدم الأفكار المنفتحة بتفسيرات ضيقة وغريبة في بعض الأحيان من جانب فئات متطرفة ينقصها التعليم والشروط اللازمة لإصدار الرأي أو الفتاوي الدينية، ولكنها للأسف تعتقد أنها تملك القوة لفرض رؤيتها. لن أطيل عليكم، ومن ثم فإن تمكين المرأة في ليبيا يحتاج إلى عمل جدي ومتواصل تشترك فيه الأجهزة الحكومية ومنظمات المجتمع المدني بدعم مناسب من وكالات الأمم المتحدة والمانحين الدوليين. وأعتقد أن وجود الدكتورة العلاقي وزميلاتها معنا هذا اليوم من شأنه أن يساعد كثيرا في فهم الوضع وربط الصلات من أجل خلق شراكة حقيقية تساهم في مواجهة التحديات التي تعترض المرأة في ليبيا خلال المرحلة الانتقالية، وتساعد في إقامة دولة مدنية ديمقراطية تحترم فيها حقوق الإنسان والحريات الأساسية. أشكركم جميعا على حضوركم، وأترك الفرصة وأترك أيضا المكان لإحدى المحاضرات لتشغله، وسأخذ أنا مكانها.
شكرا جزيلا سعادة السفير. أعطي الكلمة الآن. Oh, I'm speaking in Arabic. Yes, no problem. I need to switch. Your Excellency, it's your turn, please.
I have almost a temptation to speak Italian because you speak an excellent Italian, but don't be scared, I will speak in English. And Dr. Allaghi, Ambassador, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am really, really honored to deliver these opening remarks at today's event, Libya's Forgotten Women Speak Up. True to the theme of this event and the overall spirit of CSW, I really promise to be brief. The last thing you need is to hear another man holding the floor.
No, we don't mind if he's saying good things.
My country, a lot of other countries, still has some gender issues, but one day there will be some women ambassadors from Italy that deliver this speech. There are some colleagues, my female colleague here in the room, and maybe there will be one of them that will be here today. Yes. We have such an interesting and qualified panel of women from whose experience, insight, and wisdom we will all stand to benefit. They are among the most positive forces in Libyan society today. We are fortunate indeed to have them with us, also to break some of this stereotype about Libya in these post-revolutionary phases. Being an Italian, so we have lived a lot of stereotypes in this country. I know what does it means. Italy is really proud to have co-sponsored this event, because it's Italy, because it's Libya. Whoever knows the past, the present, and the future of relation among two countries, I don't need to elaborate more what does it mean for us. This event came in the immediate wake of the ministerial conference on Libya that we hosted in Rome last week on March 6th. There were about 40 ministerial level delegations that participated in the meeting. In its conclusions, the conference recognized, and I quote, the critical role played by women in Libya revolutionary transition, the importance of the full participation of women in Libya's national decision-making process, and in the establishment of national institutions at all levels. In Rome, the international community sent a clear message to Libya's political force and public opinion. International aid can only produce results if the Libyans themselves create the political condition for be absorbed international aid. Libya deserves a better future, and the international community is ready to do everything in its power to support it. And we think that women must have a leading role in this process. So, without further ado, I'm pleased to give the floor to Mrs. Allaghi again, and then I'm ready to listen to this important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And the statement that His Excellency referred to in the Rome conference, many women were not asked to attend that conference, but we pushed that definitely that statement has to be in the final conclusion, and thank you very much for really adding it. Now I want to give the floor to Ms. Gulden Turkos-Koslet. She's the director of the program division of the UN Women, and I want to thank her for her participation.
Thank you very much. And I would like to start by thanking the governments of Libya and Italy for co-hosting this important event, and the esteemed panelists and moderators who are here today to share their experience and expertise with us. As we've heard from the ambassadors, and you all know well, during the revolution, the world witnessed Libyan women from all walks of life, alongside men, demanding change, inclusion, equality, rights of participation in building of their future nation. Libyan women were on the front lines of the protests, as well as the birth of a new and vibrant civil society that continues to demand an inclusive political transition, responding to men, women, boys, and girls. Despite this significant role in the front lines, many Libyan women and civil society groups have expressed to UN Women that they indeed feel forgotten, overlooked in decision-making, and that their concerns and priorities have not been adequately addressed. I want to also take a moment to also recognize the achievements of Libyan women during key transitional milestones, including their active participation as voters and as candidates in the first elections for the General National Congress in 2012. This success was due in large part to the advocacy efforts of women's civil society, as well as the responsiveness and decisions of national authorities to expand the political space for women through the quota. While we don't have an office in Libya, UN Women stood behind these efforts through our regional offices in Cairo and other offices in the region to promote greater inclusivity in the democratic transition by working on two tracks of support from the offices: supporting capacity building of women's civil society and consultations on the electoral processes, consensus building on women's priorities for the transition, and civic education, and providing technical advice on various temporary special measures for the consideration of Libyan authorities to encourage a more equitable representation of women in the electoral processes. We now see Libya in the midst of another historic opportunity: the drafting of the new constitution and the initiation of the national dialogue process. We must collectively ensure that Libyan women participate fully in these processes and that they are able to influence the outcome of policy decisions. Even though only 6 women comprise the body of 60 that is tasked with drafting the new constitution, there are also additional ways to ensure that the voices of Libyan women are heard in the process and that gender equality expertise is utilized. This is essential, as we've seen in many other parts of the world, to promote women's rights in the new constitution and develop a culture of genuine inclusivity. UN Women, through the United Nations country team and political mission in Libya, is committed to assisting the Libyan authorities and women's civil society to promote women's rights and gender equality through the next transitional milestones. Through a local dialogue process and awareness-raising activities, UN Women will support grassroots women groups to aggregate and articulate their needs and demands for the new constitution. We have also offered senior gender expertise to the United Nations team locally for both the constitution drafting and national dialogue process. The equal and meaningful participation of women and the integration of gender equality perspectives in these upcoming processes is essential and requires the international community's support for not only increased representation of women in decision-making positions, but support for their effective leadership and engagement. However, this must be led and grounded in the expertise and leadership of Libyan women, and I really look forward to hearing from the panelists on their perspectives on the best way forward to support Libyan women's aspirations for change. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak here today and to listen to you.
Thank you very much. Now we move to business. We have been debating what are the priority issues that we need to focus on in this very short period of time. As you know, sadly enough, we as Libyan women definitely have been forgotten. We have been out of the international stage, out of the map. I don't think during the Gaddafi era, okay, many of you, it was one face of one man that has been really known to the rest of the world. And as His Excellency the Ambassador and you have indicated, and all of us know, despite that we were forgotten, but nevertheless, many of us have been not really stopping our struggle to ensure that Libya is a democratic state. Today, the major issues that we are engaged in, we know that we are here talking about the women issue and the women concern. But for us in Libya today, and I think for all women, the women issue is a political issue. The women issue is a human rights issue. The women issue is definitely part of rights and the future of rebuilding any nation. So we are going to security, the rule of law, the constitution, the national reconciliation, violence against women, flow of information, transformation to democracy. This is our agenda that many, many Libyan women are engaged with. Definitely, we are not representing Libyan women, all Libyan women. I wish we were able to bring more, particularly younger Libyan women here, because I think to them we have to give the credit to our young men and our young women also to ignite this revolution. And we want to cover my colleagues in 5 minutes each, maybe 6 minutes each. So we open the discussion because I can see a full room. Thank you, our sisters, for coming. I just want to say one thing. Women are discriminated against globally. There isn't a single nation on this universe that puts women in a equally to men. So this is a very important statement that we have to say. Secondly, we have to celebrate as Libyan women and as Arab women our achievements, because also, to be honest with you, we're a bit tired of all the negativism that the international and the Western media is portraying about us. We are proud to be who we are. We are determined to continue our struggle. We know very well that it's going to take many, many years to come, but definitely the march has started. And also, we need to indicate, and this is my last statement, that sadly enough, and we will come to that later on, we do appreciate the role of the international community and the international agencies, but definitely we need really also to speak about that and to see how we can move forward together. Data, information, research, if any of you open any of the information about women globally, usually the Libyan statistic, either they are wrong because they were politically wrong and they were over-exaggerating about our achievement during the Gaddafi era, or it's absent. And we strongly believe that with no data, no research, no information, very little can be done. I move now to give the floor to my friend, and really, she's a very humble woman. But Azza Al Maghur is one of the heroes of Libya. She's a lawyer. She is a writer. She told me, don't present me with anything, but write about me that I love to write stories. She is a writer, and she is a constitutional expert. Please, Azza.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farida Allaghi, Ambassador Dabbashi, and Ambassador Lambertini for hosting this event. I'm honored to be with you here today. I will speak in my domain as a legal mind person. I'll only mention 2 issues because of the time, and if you have any questions later on, I'll be happy to answer you. I will talk first of all about the democratization process in Libya. Where do we stand today? And then I'll try and talk briefly about women in the Constitution, on the future Constitution that we're expecting to draft soon. Where do we stand today in democratization process? After 42 years, 4 decades of dictatorship, I can say that we achieved a lot in 3 years, frankly. We had our first transfer of power, peaceful transfer of power, from a non-elected entity, which is the TNC, the National Transitional Council, to an elected body, which is the GNC. We also had 2 elections in 2 years. We had the election of sort of a parliament, but with too much power. I will talk about this later. And also we had an election of a constituent assembly. This is a different approach than the Tunisian and the Egyptian. The Egyptian had an appointed constituent assembly. The Tunisian had an elected constituent assembly, but with parliamentarian task. So it is different approach. We also have an emerging political parties and emerging civil society, very active, especially in women associations. We also, let's say, the main achievement, in my opinion, after the revolution is a free press, a free media. We have relatively free media, yes, anarchic a bit, messy a bit, yes, but still, I think it's having a real impact and a direct impact on the democratization process in Libya. But I also have to emphasize that we are having, for the first time in our lives, we can demonstrate freely in the streets. We have never had this before. And I think this is a very big achievement. And let me tell you that these demonstrations are having a direct impact on the democratization process in Libya. I'll just give you one example. These demonstrations that started, some of it started 6 months ago under the title No to Extension of GNC mandate, they made the GNC go out and say, we will have early elections. Imagine the force of the street on how to impact on a democratization process. So what went wrong? Why things are wrong? Why we have this image that Libya is not on the right path? Yes, of course, we have lots of problems. But the main problem, in my opinion, that you cannot have democratization process on one hand and have a militia forces. It doesn't work. It cannot coexist. It is something that one of them has to reign, one of them has to gain. So either democratization process will gain or militia will gain. But this frustrated situation cannot continue forever. So our main problem today is that these two forces cannot coexist in Libya. One of them has to win this battle. But we cannot have a civil state with militia on the ground. This is not possible. Imagine you're talking about democratization process that takes too long, that you have to be patient. It's based on dialogue. Meanwhile, you have militia forces that their target is what? Is destruction. You're having democratization process that the aim of it is construction, and at the same time you're having militia who their aim is destruction. So you cannot have both on the same ground. We also have another problem, and it's a major problem that GNC, which is, as I said, the parliament is not facing in a very brave way. We have now a mini constitution called the Constitutional Declaration that was promulgated in 2011. It is supposed to govern the transitional period in Libya, and it's supposed to take us from the state of transition to the state of stability. Apparently, this constitutional declaration is not working now anymore. We have Article 30 that is designing the governance of Libya, and it's not working. You cannot put all the power in one basket. So it is not based on separation of power. We have problem of separation of power today in Libya. You cannot have 200 people running the country today. Now, if I talk about women briefly, I have 2 minutes? Okay. I will say that women today in Libya is not a priority. When there is a list of priority, you'll have security, political problems, turbulence, but you'll never have women in the priority list. And every time they'll tell you, no, wait a bit, let's solve these issues, and then we talk about women. Now, the problem is that we have to seize the opportunity. This is an opportunity for women to flourish. It's an opportunity for women to put the seeds. Otherwise, there is no nothing called priority. We're going to miss our opportunity today if we do not be in the list of priorities. The other thing is that when we talk about conflict in Libya and security and peace in Libya will never be achieved without women. It is not possible because women is not tainted with blood. Women did not take in and not participated in any conflict in the country. So these are the only people who can really help in establishing the country. Let's forget about police and army. You need women to solve these issues. Now, today in Libya, who solves these issues? It's the distinguished people. It is the heads of tribes. It is the, what we call them, the hukama, the wise. And these all are men. This is a men domain. You cannot find a woman wise or a woman head of tribe or a woman distinguished. Therefore, I think they are making a mistake by not making women involved in these processes. The latest thing to say is that we realized during the democratization process that women can quickly lose. We lost in the second elections because in the first election we had 17.4% representation in our GNC, and the Constituent Assembly we had only 10%. So see how much we lost. And I just want to emphasize with our colleague from UN Women, it's Libyan experts who worked very hard and who learned a lot during the constitutional, the transitional period and during the democratization process. We gained a lot. We can really build up our country, but maybe we cannot, unfortunately, go into the security domain and try to help Libya in that regard. The new challenge for Libyan women today is to stay in the priority list and to be prepared to fight its new legal battle, the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Azza. I will add to what Azza has said that definitely, with all my due respect to my colleague from Libya, the male colleagues, okay, that now, sadly enough, neither in the last 40 years of a dictatorship led primarily by men, but also in this transitional phase, again, they are leading and they're trying to solve the problem, and not a single problem has been solved. And the same thing is applicable to our international friends, the friends of Libya, who were only a few months ago in Italy. So the argument is, from our side, is not a man and a woman war. We're not fighting our men. Thanks to our fathers and parents and grandfathers that we are here with you today. We have no problem with men. I keep saying many times, sometimes I pity them because we need to liberate them as well and not to be afraid from, their fellow citizens. We are now determined to really argue and not to spend our time. We are not waiting from any man in Libya to really open the green light for us or for us to wait to be given the permission to save our country. So now I want to move to the second speaker, and she is Madiha Naas. Madiha is a social scientist. She is a researcher, very concerned with knowledge, data, and research. But Madiha is among very few women in Libya who opened lately a file that has been closed or denied. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for really referring to the rape that has happened during the revolution, because many are not referring to that, and that's a big, big issue. And Madiha now is very focused on women and gender-based violence in Libya. Please, Madiha.
Thank you. Just building on what Azza mentioned about involving or including women in security issues. This is something, women are the group, the most affected group by conflicts and war, and security issue is women's issue. And this is why. You can't hear me?
Come close.
I can't anymore. Afraid. Okay, can you hear me now? That's very uncomfortable for me, the position, but anyway. So women are the group that the most affected by the lack of security. Therefore, women should be the prime negotiator moderator of any peace process. At the moment, in Libya, we don't have that. But let me start, first of all, talking about, as my friends mentioned, Libyan women participated, and as Mr. Ibrahim mentioned, that Libyan women participated in the 2011 uprising. But this didn't guarantee Libyan women an equal space in the new Libyan state. And we are witnessing now relapse in women's rights, systematic relapse in women's rights. For example, as Azza mentioned, in the last election, 2012, for the General National Congress, women gained 17% of the seats. And today, in the Constituted Assembly, women only gained six places out of 60, which is 10%. Another thing is the family law. Again, women are losing gains they had before today. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that the issue of women, in Libya, what we really lack in Libya now, let's talk about gender-based violence, for example, in Libya. What we really lack in Libya now, today, is facts and figures and services. There's the lack of facts and figures and research and empirical research in Libya created a culture of denial. So whenever the issue of gender-based violence is mentioned in Libya, you face with people denying and saying, "Oh no, these are just isolated cases. We don't have not just men, women too." They say we don't have violence against women in Libya, and this is a big problem because we cannot create or plan any strategy to fight violence against women if we don't have facts and figures, if we don't know the real situation, if we don't know the scale of violence against women, if we don't know, for example, Libya is a huge country. We don't even know if in the south of Libya we have female genital mutilation or no. We don't know if we have, what is the percentage of underage marriage in Libya. And there are cases of underage marriage in Libya. Although the law before, the minimum age of marriage was 18, but because we are in a situation where there's no state in Libya, so there's no respect for law. And there are cases of underage marriage in Libya, but we don't know how many. We don't know the scale of that. So we cannot put any strategy to help women if we don't know the exact problem. The other thing is we don't have sufficient services for women who are victims or survivors of violence. We do have very fragmented, small services, but they're not on a national level. And when you have service for women, the most important thing is to be able to reach these women. Most women in Libya, they don't know if there is any service exist in Libya. I appeared in the national TV twice talking about violence against women. And since then, I've been bombarded with phone calls and messages of women who experience violence and need help. And it's nothing worse than feeling hopeless. You cannot help women because you don't have any services to provide for them. And this is something we shouldn't have. It's 3 years since we overthrew one of the most brutal regimes in the Arab and in the region. It's 3 years. By now we should have at least some services for these women. And we should have at least we should recognize this fact. But as Dr. Farida mentioned, at least now we talk about violence against women. It's not hidden like before. We talk about it and we discuss it, but it's not enough. It's not enough because we need to do more about it. Okay. I just want to. And as Dr. Farida mentioned, we've been out of the map for 42 years. And even now, we're still out of the map. And I just want to say something about international development agencies and funders and people who try to help Libyan women since 2011. There is a huge amount of money being poured in Libya. That's very true. A lot of money, spent on workshops, conferences, etc. But it's all fragmented, and there is no monitoring mechanism that will allow us to see what is the outcome of this. Is this knowledge is transformative? Have other women benefited from a workshop we had somewhere in Libya? What's the outcome? What's the result? How this workshops or conferences resulted in enhancing women's situation, and lobbying on a legislative level to change legislation in favor of women. We don't have any monitoring mechanism to find out all this millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds. If Libyan women, ordinary Libyan women, actually benefited from that. So this is my question or advice. Can we have such system so we can know, we can find out? And another thing which is really important, so when a development agency comes and have 3 million, okay, I'm going to finish, 3 million of pounds to give to Libyan civil society, ONGOs, how they decide where to spend these money? Have they done research on the ground? Do they know the Libyan women's needs? What's urgent? What's the burning issues for Libyan women? We don't know. So how they decide their agenda, how they decide that Libyan women need some workshop on media training or political representation or whatever. I see it all very confused efforts, and it's such a shame because a lot of money being spent and, time past 3 years, we should have had something by now. Another thing is 1325 is a landmark legislation. We should use it as a tool to include women in making peace and not exclude, because women, as I mentioned at the beginning, are the most affected by conflicts, and they are the ones with clean hands, as Azza mentioned, who actually can negotiate and can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madiha. Sorry to interrupt you, but we need to move quickly because we really have a fantastic audience, and I'm sure there are lots of burning questions. I move very quickly now to Maysoon Al-Toghar, as Mr. Ambassador has presented Maysoon, but maybe I will only add one thing, that she is a very, very dynamic woman with social media. I think she's the youngest in the group. I am the oldest, by the way. I'm the wise grandmother, so that's why they're listening to me. And Maysoon will address now two major issues: the social media, technology, the youth, and the right of information. Please, Maysoon.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with where Azza really left it, and Madiha. Because of the broader issues that we're facing in terms of peace and security, the women issues have been not taken seriously, and they have been down on the agenda. So that left a lot of room to neglect the issue of political participation, the issue of woman exposure, woman peacemaking, and so forth. So basically, I would like to focus in that regard women's involvement during the revolution and after the revolution, which is three major issues. I would like to focus on good governance, which will take me back then to transparency and fight against corruption. Now, with good governance, we all know that building democratic institutions, you need to make people, our politicians, accountable. And that, unfortunately, has not happened because, again, of the priorities on security and peace. Nobody is paying attention to the expenditure of our government, the looting of our budget, the waste in from our national treasury. We have never been so badly financially, how do you say it? Yeah, we haven't in our history. So that has given room for the thieves to loot our treasury. So good governance is a must. We have, as the youth have been massively involved in social media, normal media, in exposing, in lobbying, in advocating issues. We have advocated so many issues in regards to women, in regards to quota. The social media has played a big, tremendous role in advocating giving quotas to women. Another thing is also transparency. Transparency in terms of how our politicians rule us. For example, at the beginning, the GNC, our Congress, was live broadcast, and then they decided not to do it anymore. Nobody can tell them anything. I mean, democracy is. Some people think democracy is putting them in their positions, the ballot box. But then they can do anything. No, democracy is a process that has to be monitored and has to be controlled. And if we don't like our politicians, we have the right to get rid of them. And this is what we're trying to do right now.
Absolutely.
So basically, and then we have the fight against corruption. We have seen, for example, the tender processing, again, because of the priority is not there to monitor our budgets and how government funds are going. Tender processes are not being respected. There's a lot of violations in our laws. We have fantastic laws, even from before, even from the 60s. We have great laws that bring people accountable, but they have not been implemented. So basically, I would like to focus now on how I've identified the issues, the problems. How can the international community help us? I think the international community has a moral responsibility towards Libya. I think we can take all the help we can. The United Nations has been a great help, but I think the United Nations can do more, can focus more, can help us with our data, data banks, can help with the research, and try to be there, and also try to assist our NGOs, our charities, our think tanks for a better Libya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maysoon. We would like to open the floor now for comments, for questions. Please identify yourself. We'll take a couple of questions or comments, and then we ask our panelists to answer. Please.
I think my voice. Do I need to stand or sit? Anyway, I'm coming from Sierra Leone, as I said earlier on, and from West Africa. We are an NGO working for women and girls and working for the advancement of the empowerment of women and girls, especially from the rural setting, those in the provincial areas, because people from the Western area know a little and are educated somehow and maybe are able to speak on their own behalf. All of your issues are similar issues with our issues in Sierra Leone, but we have got a way forward. So maybe, first of all, I want to thank you very much for being very, very straightforward, outspoken, focused, determined, and you might love to network with us because we have got a way forward of monitoring. A lot of monies have been going into our country before the war, during the war, because for Sierra Leone, we have experienced 11 years of brutal war. And we are coming out from that war as women and girls, and we are, well, I will not say now on top of issues, but we are working at least side by side somehow. So maybe after this meeting, I would love to meet with you five and to talk to you about the way forward. Thank you very much for your message.
Very much. Ambassador Tallawi.
Farida, thank you very much. I would like to thank the ambassador of Libya and all the panelists for organizing this meeting. It is good to exchange our experiences. And here I would like to salute, indeed, the women in Libya for their heroic part and contribution during the revolution. They have suffered a lot. We have seen what has happened inside and outside their home to the honest civilian during this process. But once this have been settled, the women again became forgotten. This is happening in our region since 1919, when the Egyptian women started the revolution against the British, and they were forgotten in the Constitution of 1923. So this is always the case. Women would pay during the time of difficulties, but no reward when it is stable. So, Farida, you said that no, I think it was Azza who said the wise people, the head of tribes are always men, but not women. But as you can see, even in the CSW, the three heads of the big meetings are men. Okay? I'm not against the ambassador of Philippines or Salvador, or they are very capable people, and thank them for their effort. But for what reason? There is no woman coming from the capital or here to take the floor. Anyway, so it is the mentality. I agree that I have a big complaint against the media in the way they portray the women, the revolution, the democracy process in all our region, and particularly Libya. Either they are giving a very wrong information to the European, to the West, or they are denying totally the role of women. Therefore, I would like that this should change. If they are free, independent media, they have the obligation to transmit the image properly. On the other side, the international community have a responsibility toward us. They are speaking about the right of women. This needs solidarity, world solidarity. When we try to fight the dictatorship or revolution or extremist religious people, they are saying you are not following the true democracy and legitimate process. I think this is the last point is the UN. Okay, I like to join whoever said we thank the UN. I thank them too, but I think, yes, indeed, their effort is totally fragmented, totally doesn't help the women in our region, and totally does not continue the path of the 90s on development. What we are keen of is development, not fragmented human rights and explanation of we respect human rights, but we do have the right to be defended, to be helped, to be pat on our shoulder, to say thank you that you moved this dictatorship, or you are marching toward democracy. But unfortunately, I didn't find it, neither in Libya or in Egypt or in wherever else in our region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Talawi. Please, yeah.
Daniela Colombo, I'm the president of IDOS, And Ambassador Tulawi must remember me from the times of Instro. I'm so happy to see you. Okay, thank you so much for having made your way to New York. I know it was hard, and I'm very pleased that the Ambassador of Libya and also my government have co-sponsored this panel, because really, we heard your voices. Can you believe that we have been asked by the Italian government to give some training to Libyan women on health counseling centers and the model we have in Italy, and also on the virtual business incubators? And when we finished this training, we realized the women were not a bit interested in what we trained them on, and we didn't know of the existence of the Libyan Forum of Civil Society. So thank you for having come to New York. Merva talked about solidarity, and I think solidarity is the main treasure we have. So what I'm asking you is, how can I'm asking as an Italian organization working in development issues. We are a women organization. How can we be of help to you? You mentioned priorities with data, research. You mentioned priorities with gender-based violence. I want to ask you also about sexual and reproductive health and rights, because we know nothing of what is the present situation of Libya. And as you said, the data go back, and they were all emphasizing the success of Libya. And then also access to, how you create enterprise, how is the way to empower women economically, and how we can help you.
Thank you so much.
Collaborate with you.
Thank you so much. Definitely, we are going to be connected with you. I think we can have only 1 minute intervention, please, because there are many people who want to interfere and the time is running. Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Khadija Arfewi. I'm from Tunisia. I would like to present my deepest consideration and respect to the Libyan people and to the Libyan women, our sisters. When the revolution started in Tunisia, when the Arab Spring started, we immediately thought of Libya and said, we wish the Libyan people could get rid of their dictator, and you did, so congratulations. Now, my advice is that you should concentrate on helping a union, consolidate the union between the Libyan people. We are trying to do that in Tunisia, but we seem not to know what democracy. We still don't have the culture of democracy. And also, don't make the mistake made in Algeria. When Algeria was independent, women who had taken, an active part in the war for independence, they told them, "You wait, because now it's our," and they wait, and so they are still waiting for their rights.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please. And then. Yes, you. Yes, please.
شكرا سيدتي. أنا أنصاف حمد، تذكرتيني من منتدى الإصلاح من سوريا. طبعا شكرا لك. أنا رئيسة الهيئة السورية لشؤون الأسرة وأستاذة جامعية، أستاذة فكر سياسي معاصر. أود أن أعيد الأستاذات إلى ضميرهم العلمي فيما يتعلق باستخدام كلمة ثورة. أرجوكم مسؤوليتكم كأستاذات التدقيق. أنا أعرف أن الثورات ينبغي أن تأتي بالأفضل للدول، باعتراف ما سمعت الآن أن الثورات لم تأتي حتى الآن، على الأقل حتى الآن لم تصبح الأوضاع أفضل لا في البلاد ولا على المرأة. هناك تراجع على جميع المستويات. من أجل ألا نبقى أسرى للقول الشعبي الذي يقال لدينا في سوريا عنزة ولو طارت، هي ثورة ولو طارت. يعني أتمنى أن ندقق في هذا الأمر من أجل ألا نبقى أسرى هذه الاستخدامات غير الدقيقة. النقطة الثانية التي أريد أن أشير لها بأن دائما المنظمات الدولية المجتمع الدولي، والمجتمع الدولي والدول ليست جمعيات خيرية. المجتمع الدولي حصل على ما يريد من ليبيا والآن أصبحت في آخر اهتماماته. ليست جمعيات خيرية، الأموال تصرف كما أشارت سيدتي. أعتقد وأنا آسفة بتواطؤ متبادل بين من يمتهن العمل المدني، من العمل جمعيات المجتمع المدني لديه مهنة يرتزق من وراء البعض طبعا، وأنا لا أريد أن أعمم، وبين بعض المنظمات التي تريد فقط أن تنفذ أنشطة. والأفضل ألا تنعكس إيجابا على فقط نقطة أخيرة. فريدة أرجوك آخر نقطة، أتمنى فعلا أن تنعكس إيجابا، أن تبدأ أن يؤخذ بعين الاعتبار في كل ما يتعلق بالمرأة المدخل التنمية الاقتصادية، تمكين المرأة الاقتصادي. شكرا فريدة، أنا سعيدة أن رأيتك.
Please.
Thank you very much for your very interesting panel. I think I missed the very beginning, so
You need the mic. You need the mic. Introduce yourself, please.
Sorry. My name is Susanta Ahmasabi. I'm with ICANN, and we're an international organization based in Washington, D.C., but I'm also Iranian. So I have thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. I missed the very beginning, so I hope I'm not asking a question that you talked about. We know that Libyan women have been very active since the revolution. Can you please tell us what you're doing that's significant, that's working, that's good, that can be supported and expanded upon? So the things that you're doing, your own creative methods of responding to the issues that at hand. One. Second, what are they doing in the region that can be built upon and adapted inside Libya that you're interested in? Because we do a lot of regional works, and perhaps there are things that are happening in other similar contexts that would be beneficial in Libya. And lastly, I think you mentioned something the other day when we talked about human rights defenders. Can you tell us what the situation of women human rights defenders in Libya is? Because I know that they're having a lot of problems. Thank you.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة، واسمحي لي أن أقوم بمداخلة باللغة الإنجليزية.
Yes. The microphone closer, please.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ladies, for coming. Thank you for bringing to New York the voice from Libya. Needless to remind people around the table how closely we worked, we as Lebanon, with Libya during the beginning of your struggle. I think we're here to continue our journey. But instead of the P in your pity, I would like to offer another P, which is partnership. Let's work together on finding partnership. And how can we, based on your national experience and your ownership of the process, build together a plan of action highlighting your priorities? Then you can channel the resources, be it nationally, regionally, and internationally. I will stop here, and I will give you back the floor. Thank you.
Allow me first, before I ask my friends to give their feedback, what we are doing, what's going on. And of course, now today we are talking as Libyan women, but I'm a strong believer that we need also to talk as Arab women, particularly in the countries where, I'm sorry to use the word, revolutions took place. And I think the impact of revolution from history, we know it's not going to be realized in 2 or 3 or 10 years. This is a very long struggle. But I have been in exile 40 years. I never dreamt to go back to Libya, and I'm alive. And the mere fact that the revolution took place, these youth and these martyrs that I salute today, they took us, many of us, back to Libya. So we are proud that we have a revolution. Maybe our friend from Syria doesn't want that terminology to be used. And I think definitely a dictator who stayed 42 years, and the West was cooperating with that dictator, and the West was working closely with all the dictators. So also today we have to say enough is enough from the North to keep teaching us lessons about a human rights violation, about democratization, because I think they need to respect the Arab mind, the Libyan mind, the women mind, and everybody's mind. I think a new era has started to take place in our region. And also to the international community we have to say, yes, maybe 20, 30 years ago, when we were all involved in all these international conferences, we were learning. But now I think the time has come that the North have to respect what we also have been achieving, despite all what we are facing. In Libya or in the Arab countries today, Azza will also refer to that later on, we are still, despite all the bloodshed, despite the threat, despite radicalism, despite the fear, the human rights advocates, I think, today in Libya, either have been, many of them have been kidnapped, many have been, of them have been, hujim alayhum, what you call, attacked, and despite all of that, we are not going to stop. Nothing is going to stop us, because we might not live to see the fruits of this revolution, but definitely we want to leave something behind us to our children and our grandchildren. So I think what Mirvat Talawi has suggested, the international community, the international agencies, the UN agencies, thank you very, very much, but enough is enough the way business is being done in our region. We can no longer be quiet. We can no longer just have a hit and run, a 3 days workshop, a small little research here and there. We need the international sisterhood, global support. I have been visiting myself many UN agencies, and I kept telling them we need to connect with our other sister in the Arab countries, particularly in the countries that have witnessed revolution. We need to learn from each other. We need to support each other. We need to get together. We in Libya, for your information, we don't have neither a national committee for women, nor a strategic policy center for women, not a single network for women. We are, despite all of that, we are scattered, and we also have been asking the UN agencies, the international donor, the funders, for heaven's sake, we need to build institution that unites us. We need to bridge the lost islands that is all over. So I think that's why we insisted to come, despite the fact up to, and Mr. Dabbashi knows, and he was calling me, Dr. Farida, you are late, are you coming or not? Because every day counts in Libya for us today. We are in the streets, we are in meetings. You know, I am shivering now at 2 young Libyan women from Sabha, from the south, from the desert, during the time that south was shelling. We had a meeting about the women candidates for the 60 committee. And I was shocked to see these 2 brilliant young women coming who are candidates. I told them how you made it. You know, shelling, war, fear. They said, no, we rented a car, we asked our brothers are with us. And I have to conclude by saying, I'm very, very, very proud with many Libyan men. We are supported by many Libyan men, including some progressive religious men. Yes, the radicals, as the ambassador indicated, we are facing lots of challenges with the dark ages who start interpreting our great religion that also has been hijacked, and that the West also is really tarnishing so much. So we are tired. I don't think now we believe in sisterhood. We are determined to move, and we need an international conference. And I call now to the UN system, to the international agency, to all the governments. Maybe in Italy you had a big conference with all the men who are messing our country in Italy, and and the problems have been solved. I think the time has come that we need. Otherwise, to be honest with you, despite all our enthusiasm, we are afraid. We are losing. We are threatened. And up to where we are going to continue to face, I don't know. But we are determined to continue to face the big challenges. And I think the UN, hopefully, and the international donor community has to come. We need to assess. We need to sit around a round table. We need each other. We need to move forward. We need to have a revolution in our thinking. And for the women, not only for Libya, we are not nagging anymore. We are not complaining anymore. We know very well, we are proud of our power, we are proud of our future, and we are citizens. Period. Equal. No man, no woman. We are citizens that we need to save our region, our beautiful Arab region from diving. And I hope one day I see you all in our beautiful country of Libya. It's so pretty, Libya. It's so beautiful, Libya. And we hope to host you one day in Libya. Thank you. Now I move to...
Now you know why Libyan women were forgotten, I think. Anyways, I just want to say that I want to thank Khadija Arfawi, a friend of mine, that, and I thank her very much because you remembered me during the revolution. You sent me an email. Thank you very much at the time. I think when we talk about revolutions, revolutions are just you change the situation, either for good or for bad. It doesn't mean that when you have a revolution, you're gonna be better. Sometimes you're gonna be worse, but it's your choice. It's a people's choice. So it is indeed a revolution. And it is a revolution that I'm proud of, though we have all of these troubles and all of these mistakes, and we're life-threatening sometimes, but we're still happy with what happened. I think we have to understand that we can, I think after these 3 years of democratization process, I can say confidently that we can make it. We can make something out of this. The only problem we're facing, and I think we're having difficulties in managing it, is the arms, the spread of arms everywhere. I think the issue of security is the only thing that we are failing to handle today. And I don't think, and I say it with confidence, I don't think the international community is helping us in this. I think sometimes they are actually making things worse. When I say international community, I don't mean the West. I mean the international community as a whole. Libya now is a place where you have extremism, where you have sometimes armed deals, where you have narcotics, drugs. So it is somehow smuggling. So there are things that we don't know. We don't know as Libyans. And therefore, I don't think that the international community is really playing a big role in controlling arms in Libya or in taking us to the safe side from violence. I think if anything from you to help, it's not on elections, it's not on constitution. Thank you very much. We can make it. We want you to help and provide technique and provide technology on how to deal with the armed situation to help the civilians, us who are looking for a better place in the Mediterranean basin or basin. Thank you very much.
Again, I would like to emphasize that we're very, very proud, and it is a revolution. And again, you have to respect the choices of the people. You come from a country where the people have also said enough, and I think you have to respect that. We cannot live in dictators all our lives. It's a process. It takes time, but it will happen. It will happen. And you look at examples in history, it takes up to 40, 50 years. It will happen. So the alternative is just killing your people. That's what's happening in your country. And I'm very, very sad for you. Very sad for you. But I completely disagree with you, and you cannot judge us for that. It is a revolution, and I confirm it again. Thank you.
I just want to say something which is, I think, very important for the international development agencies, the UN, everybody who wants really to help Libyan people and Libyan women in particular, is that the fact that there's no coordination between the international community and the Libyan Authority to put together a national plan that includes women as stakeholders in peace process and negotiation and peacemaking. So what is really needed is to put pressure on Libyan Authority and to communicate with Libyan civil society to put together a national plan to include women, because without including women in peace process, peace cannot be achieved, and the Millennium Development Goals cannot be achieved, and women will always be vulnerable and economically deprived, etc. So I think the most important issue now is to think of strategy, to think of a national plan, really, to include women. Thank you.
I think amendment.
Thank you. Oh, one more intervention, and this is the last, because we have 2 more minutes to finish. We have to be on time.
My name is Salwa Kader, and I represent the U.S. Federation for Middle East Peace. I want to thank you. I don't know if you can hear me without bending. This is the first voice that we have heard since the revolution. So I want to thank you and special thank to our friend, the ambassador, for coordinating this. And Farida, as long as people like you exist, you guys are going to be winning, and you have a long struggle, but I believe in you. I've attended you twice. You have energy, that you are determined, and I think you deserve a very big applaud from everybody here.
I'm happy I'm born a woman. I thank you all very much. I'm sure that, Mr. Ambassador, I never lose opportunities. I'm sure, Mr. Ambassador, that the doors of the Libyan House are going to be open very wide. I thank the Italian government and our Italian friends, and definitely we are looking forward to a better strategic, hopefully, cooperation. I would like to thank Azza, who has to go back. Azza is the only woman who has been appointed lately by the parliament to be with how many men? How many men? 14 men. 14 men to rewrite the constitution, and now she will be engaged in the election law. And I thank Maysoon also, who's with her young activism and lobbying and information knowledge, and Mediha, that is really an adamant pusher for her dream to have a center or an institute for policy research.